a giggle inside.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe and Mika, a.k.a. Good Logic. Hope you enjoyed that opening there. I will be sharing that with my locals crew at goodlogic.locals.com, which is where you should basically, that's the first place you should be checking first thing in the morning. You should be like, oh my God, any updates at goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. What's going on over there? I need to know. That's what should be happening. That's what should be happening. It's not happening for all of you yet. That day will come at some point in the future. Not yet, but do you want to be the last one? I don't think so. That's goodlogic.locals.com. So many of you may recall, there was all this excitement a few weeks back, roughly like a week before the election. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who remembers this. No. I'm sure you probably remember this too. Where we had all this tremendous excitement from the Democrats. They were so excited. Oh, everything was going to go. Oh, my God, the landslide was coming. When they got a poll out there, which just popped on out, and everything was looking amazing. Oh, amazing.
Iowa is a very Republican state. There's only one person at statewide office or federal office who is a Democrat. So to have the presidential candidate lead by a substantive margin was shocking to be.
A substantive margin. A substantive 3-point margin that was being shown in the Des Moines Register poll, courtesy of Ann Seltzer.
Begin with. One of the reasons she is leading is because of her strength with women generally, even stronger with women age 65 and over. Her margin is more than 2-1. And this is an age group that shows up to vote or votes early in disproportionately large numbers. So it's a bit of the boost that Kamala Harris has gotten this time. Iowa is a very Republican.
Very exciting news for the Democrats. They were very, very excited to see that she was about to win Iowa. Everything was going really great there. Everything was going really just amazing in Iowa. 3-point lead in Iowa. That's what she was. That's what Ann Seltzer was reporting. That's what Ann Seltzer. And everyone was like, "Are you kidding me? How can that possibly be?" Everyone on my side of the aisle, people wearing red, we were like, I don't really buy it. But Ann Seltzer, highly reputable. She's the best in the business. That's what we were being told. Best in the business. She's never wrong. And now she's calling 3 points. 3 points. 3-point win for Kamala. And look, even if she's off by a little bit there, it certainly bodes well for all these different states that people weren't even really considering to be in the business. People weren't thinking that it's going to be in the mix. It's out of the race. Everything.
Iowa is a very.
If that's what's happening there.
The question I get.
Whoa. If that's what's happening there, what's happening in other states? I mean, that's what this dude was talking about. I don't even know his name, but he's always got his shirt sleeves rolled up to show you he's serious. He's getting down to business. He's got them shirt sleeves rolled on up. Oh, it's time to get down to business. We're getting down to business because I've got a lot of serious information to share with you that you have to know. So here's his take on the Des Moines Register poll showing Kamala a 3-point lead.
The fact of this poll catching everybody's surprise raises a reality. We have not seen much polling outside of the core battleground states this entire campaign. We've just assumed, both parties have assumed, there's not much to see there. But if there is, where else could you look? I'll give you one to look at early on election night, and it's New Hampshire. Yeah. Polls closed mostly at 7 o'clock. Biden won this by 7. 2016, though, this was the closest state that Clinton won, that she came the closest to losing. Look at that, a 3,000 vote margin. J.D. Vance is in New Hampshire today for the Trump campaign. This could be an early test if, in general, things are happening outside the battleground
Dominance.
we haven't been talking about.
Yeah.
The fact of this poll catching everybody's
dominance. That's what we're going to be seeing from Kamala. After all, Ann Seltzer told us that. She told us that. And then an unexpected event rolled around. That unexpected event was called November 5th. No one knew it was coming. No one knew November 5th was anywhere. It wasn't marked on anyone's calendars. No one knew it was coming. And the next thing you know, we actually get, instead of polls, election results. Yes. And the election results showed what's this? What's this? How is that possible? 13-point win. A 13-point win. But Ann told us. She said, Kamala, how could you're off by 16 points? She's off by 16. Maybe it's me. I suspect that's outside the margin of error. I think that's beyond the margin of error. I mean, I know that margin of error can sometimes a little smaller, a little narrower, sometimes big. No, I don't care what kind of margin error you use. When you're off by 16 in your estimates, that's outside the margin of error. So that doesn't look good for highly reputable expert in the industry, in particular in Iowa. It doesn't look good for her. What the hell's happening to you, Ann? What's going on? And then we get this. Pollster Ann Seltzer ending election polling. She's out. Moving on to greener pastures, other ventures, and opportunities. She spent her entire life polling. Her entire life. In this story, they say since she's like a little kid. Here she is, Ann Seltzer. Here she is. Let's hear from her.
Paper poll. Well, the Iowa poll is, just brace yourself, the longest continuously running statewide newspaper poll. So that's a lot of adjectives there. It is probably the best known newspaper poll in the country. I think the reason that we've been successful, and may it always be true, is that we think long and hard about what our method should be, and that we're not polling backward, we're polling forward. So when I look at what other polls do when they get it wrong, they've made an assumption about a future electorate based on a past electorate. Our method has been not to get in the way of our data showing us what turnout is going to be. I'll just give you the best example was in the 2008 caucuses.
So she's the highly reputable expert. She's the queen. She's the queen bee here. Everyone understands that she's the queen bee. People were somehow, Democrats were ignoring this little interview she had back right a couple days before the election when they were screaming about how excited they were that this is the end all and be all. This is the end all and be all.
Right. Okay. So Noah, are you able to put up that tweet? Maybe it's up and I can't see it because it's up. It's up. All right. Ann, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Could you just go through and say what you think about those criticisms?
So what happened was after she did her poll, Ryan Gerdusky came out there and said her info that she's relying on is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you compare who she polled versus who voted last time, like what percentage of Republicans versus Democrats, it's so much skewed in favor of polling of only Democrats. She might as well have walked into the DNC. It's not remotely comparable to the percentage of people who voted in 2020. So he compared. So if you're looking at this over here, it says overall D+3 is what she polled. But in 2020, the Republicans had a +8 advantage. And now you're assuming that in this election, the Democrats will have a +3 advantage? Among senior women, the Democrats had a +6 advantage in the 2020 election. But she polled them 35 And it's just like, wow, all those older women are coming out. Well, that's because you're only polling Democrats. And last time, yeah, there were more Democrats, but they weren't plus 35. They were like, it was 53-47. It was a plus 6 as far as who actually voted in 2020. But now she's being asked to explain this, and this is her giving an explanation or trying.
Well, I'm trying. This is in a format that's a little difficult for me to see. What does this D represent and the R represent?
What does the D represent? What does the D represent, and what does the R represent? This is what the expert poller was asking when she was looking at what the crosstabs were saying. Wait, what does D represent? What is R? This is very hard. This is very confusing. This is very... This was the expert who was giving them the great news. Great news is coming. Oh, she's going to win by 3. What does D mean?
D. So they're saying that, and again, he says read through the Seltzer crosstabs.
Yeah.
So they're saying that they know that this poll shows, and again, it's they say your sample is got it's more 3% more Democrats than Republican, whereas the electorate last time was 8% more Republican. It says that you have Indies voting Democrat +4, whereas last time they voted for +7 +4. So they're saying if you compare what you have with what happened in 20, according to the exit polls, it's way too big a change across all these groups in a uniform way towards pro-Harris as opposed to Trump.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this, and so it's sort of against my nature to think I understand everything that this is saying, and I haven't cross-checked these numbers to know how that actually pans out. But I'm going to say that it is clear that senior women are an advantage to Kamala Harris in our poll.
So
Kamala Harris wins by more than 2 to 1. Actually, maybe even more than that
because you only polled the DNC.
Senior women. It's a big, big spread.
Oh my God. So so apparently she's out of the game now. She is out of the game. This is how she announces her retirement. Public opinion polling has been my life's work. I collected my first research data as a freshman in college. If you don't count a neighborhood poll I did at age 5. I've always been fascinated with what a person could learn from a scientific sample of a meaningful universe. And she goes on saying, over a year ago, I advised Register I would not renew my 2024 contract. Expired when the contract expired with the latest election poll as I transitioned to other ventures and opportunities. So now we understand what happens. Curiously, Kamala is short $20 million. So I don't know. She's going on to greener pastures. I have no more knowledge of facts than you have. I'm just saying, I don't know. Kamala's in hock. She's like selling off like her couch. They're like movers, like moving trucks are coming up to are backing up to her front door. The movers are like shuttling in and out with like different vases and trinkets. And and all of a sudden, she's moving on to greener pastures. Ann Seltzer, after coming out with a poll which completely destroyed her reputation. That my last poll of my career is going to be disastrously, ridiculously terrible, and happened to be motivating people into thinking that the Democrats are going to win. So there she is. She's gone. We will miss you, Ann. We will very, very much miss you, and your misinformation, disinformation that you are happy to spread, because that was the most ridiculous poll ever, arguably, considering who you were. But speaking of people who struggle to understand how the election was coming or what the potential impact of their words may be on the electorate, and really having zero clue as to what the zeitgeist of the nation was, here's Stephen A. Smith breaking down as to how the big losers of the election were pretty much the Oprah Winfreys of the world.
All these celebrities, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Oprah.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
You're going to look an audience in the face and you're going to tell them that if you vote for Donald Trump, you may not ever be able to cast a vote again. Who believed that? Who believed that coming from Oprah? Truly, who believed that? This is the kind of stuff that alienates an electorate, that alienates a vote or a voter. Because the freedom that you tell them they have, you try to confiscate morally by letting them know you ain't worth a damn unless you vote the way we say you should vote. Who's going to go for that in a general election with an economy rife with inflation, with over 12 million people coming across the borders, with people wondering about their dollars, the dollars that they earn, the dollars that they have in their pocket, the value of that dollar dissipating before our very eyes. But in the same breath, you're telling them that you got to take even more money out of their pocket to finance immigrants that come all across the border illegally at the behest of the Democratic Party looking to secure a voting block. Did you think that would work?
Did you think it would work?
Did you think that would work?
Apparently they did. And it's not three women. He beat Oprah also. he even beat Tay-Tay. He even beat Tay-Tay, who he now passed on X for having more people following him than Taylor Swift. I guess there's more Trump fans than Swifties. That's nice to see. That's nice to see. Black rim glasses in her future, almost definitely. Almost definitely. So we spent the last election cycle, and let's face it, the last 7 years hearing from the left about how he's terrible, he's awful, he's Hitler, he's a fascist, he's a disaster, he's going to come out here and he's going to destroy the world. Everything is going to happen terrible for him. It's like just terribleness that was coming. Terribleness that was coming. And that's why it was pretty surprising. It was pretty surprising when Morning Joe comes out today with their announcement as to like how we're completely changing our tune. Excuse me. We're totally done with that whole. You remember that whole Hitler thing we kept saying? Remember that whole nasty Hitler thing? That whole Adolf thing we kept saying. Kind of changing our tune on that just a little bit.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-A-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have.
It was the first time we were in Adolf's bunker. It was the first time we were in. If he was really Adolf, would they have gone? Would they have gone? Big fat stinking liars.
Seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no.
So don't think that we're all of a sudden throwing on a red MAGA hat. Don't think that that's happening. No. Because trust us, we're not going to show you any of the interview there. But we had a long conversation. We had some stern words for the president when we went there and begged him for relevance. We went there and begged Trump to please. We just we looked around. We're like, holy hell. We lost the House. We lost the Senate. We don't have a Supreme Court. We lost the White House. Why would anyone even listen to us? Why would anyone in DC care about anything we say? There's literally zero political power there. We have we have squandered all of our political capital.
Surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. And
that's not what surprised people. What surprised people is that you went into Adolf's bunker. You went into a fascist. He's a fascist. You were frothing at the mouth about him 2 weeks ago. Frothing at the mouth. Now all of a sudden, like, oh, so we had brunch with Donald and Melania. Let's tell you about our brunch and trust us. We didn't totally agree with him on everything he said. You know, we disagreed on some stuff, but we begged him to please give us more interviews, because there's no reason for anyone to ever listen to legacy media for at least the next 2 years.
Told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications.
Okay, so we'll stop bashing you every day, and you just, like, you know, once in a while give us a quote, an interview. Like, please, we're so sorry. We're so sorry, Donald. Oh, where's the ring? Give me the ring. I'll kiss the ring. Please, I'll kiss the ring. Please, please, please. Please, I'm so sorry.
My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike.
All of a sudden we're reporters. We're not opinion people anymore. No, we're good old-fashioned journalists. We're gonna dig down deep, because that's what we've always done. That's what everyone knows us for. That we get to the bottom of things with fair, even-handed journalism.
He had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Just so that we can tell you that he made a call to him after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. That's the only reason he called, so that we can tell you about it.
In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful. He was upbeat. He seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues.
And we promised him that we would say that he's going to be, like, you know, a whole different, better leader this time, in exchange for him, like, giving us access and pretending that we're not completely irrelevant.
For those asking,
can you please stop calling us fake news? Can you please, can you please, just please stop calling us fake news? It's very embarrassing. It hurts our feelings.
Why we would go speak to the president-elect during...
Meaning every person who's ever watched your show. Asking, why are you visiting the guy you told us was Adolf?
Such fraught times, especially between us. I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
Oh, okay, here's a list of reasons. Number one, you look like hypocrites. Number two, you're legitimizing him. Number three, according to the left, you're normalizing him. Number four, it's hard to look at you as the voice of the resistance when you're going in there, when you're going down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss his derriere. Those are four reasons. Just off the top of my head. There's probably a few more in there. Probably a few more. I don't know. Number five is your reputation, that anything that you said in the last year and a half, 2 years, I don't know, 7 years about him had any truth behind it at all? Any at all? Maybe there's, you know, 6 is, like, I guess, your credibility. Like, you know, people actually looking at you like you're not a complete or total joke. Those are just 6 reasons. I don't know.
5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been...
No, it's not 5 years of political warfare. This all goes back to 2008. Okay? This is 16 years. 16 years. Ever since you guys started saying that the only they, thems we like are people who are mental illness, but the other they, thems, Republicans, they're evil people.
As clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote.
meaning we were already illegitimate anyway. No one was believing us. No one was believing us. At least this way we could try and pretend that we're even-handed. So we're trying, this is their wink to their audience saying, this gives us more credibility because now we look like, we're actually even-handed.
Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
As somebody close to Donald Trump told me this past weekend, this is a president who's not seeking re-election. So maybe, just maybe, now could be the time for both parties to get to work. And I know, given the jarring headlines that we read every day, that may seem like a stretch, but think about this.
See, this is their way of paying homage to Donald Trump. So here, Donald, we're going to send you a clip of what I'm about to say right here and now.
Of the 150 million votes cast, Donald Trump got 50%. Kamala Harris got about 49%. So I don't know. Seems to make sense for leaders of both parties to seek common ground if it's possible at all. Mm-hmm. I will tell you, a lot of Democratic leaders we've talked to this past week since the election have told Mika and me it's time for a new approach. And when I say top Democrats, I mean top Democrats. They said, we're open. And this was before we talked to Donald Trump. They said, listen, we're open to working with the incoming president if the incoming president is open to working with us.
Because you have no relevance anymore for at least 2 years. Let's face it, the reality is this. The reality is in 2026, the Republicans are going to lose the House. It is a virtual guarantee because the incumbent party invariably loses seats during a midterm in the House. Invariably, they lose seats. So it's really 2 years that we get to enjoy this, where we have just every element of DC in Republican hands. Although obviously you still have all those rhinos who are sitting in there, but still that political capital is so strong and tilted in one side. We have 2 years of this before it's lost. So they're like, we have at least 2 years until we have any importance at all. We have no significance.
Yeah, the question is, though, how do we get there? Hyperbole and personal attacks will not work. My hair on fire doesn't work. We've all seen that. What also does not work is threatening political opponents with arrest, harassment, and even jail.
Are you talking about what you did to Donald for the last 2 years? Is that what you're talking about? Because that's what you did to him for 2 years. Or it might, by the way, it might not be just relevance. It might be like, please don't reopen the investigation into what happened to Morning Joe's secretary, where there's all these different people who are chattering. Like, it really could be far more important than relevance to Joe Scarborough, because some of you may not be aware of this, and I don't know any more than whatever gossip goes on out there, but I have heard gossip that there was some really weird incident where a secretary who he had some personal relationship with all of a sudden wound up dead. And what his connection to that was something that people have gossiped about a great deal. I have no reason to think that he actually was involved in putting her to sleep. But a lot of folks think that there's a lot of smoke there. So it really could be as simple as, wait a second, Matt Gaetz might be the next attorney general. And we've been bashing these people pretty hard. And then we also were kind of engaging in lawfare against Republicans up and down really since 2016, like Michael Flynn, before they even came to the White House, not 2017, before they even came in there. We were trying to bamboozle Michael Flynn and get him into trouble with lawfare. So we've been doing this for the last 8 years, and now they control everything. And Matt Gaetz, who's all about investigating corruption, looks like he may be the attorney general. That's kind of scary. So it really could be something as simple as that. I don't know. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts and minds of men?
That is a failed path. Recent history has proven that impeachments and trials turn those on trial into political martyrs and only make them more popular with the American.
Which is exactly what I predicted all the way back in, March 2023. When the first indictment from Alvin Bragg dropped, I was like, this is just making Trump relevant all over again. No one was talking about him for the last 6 months. Everyone was talking about DeSantis. You just made him relevant.
American people. Just ask Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. We know this will be a consequential presidency. The question is whether it will be constructive. It will take a new approach from all sides, from both parties, and a leader who can bring them together. And only time will tell if Donald Trump is that leader. As for us, we also let him know that we will continue to speak truth to power and push back hard when called for, as we have with all presidents.
Don't be mistaken.
As we have. Oh my God. She said that with a straight face, as we have with all presidents. Oh, yes. That's what everyone knows. You speak truth to power. That's why MSNBC was created. That's what Rachel Maddow is all about. That's what Chuck Todd is about. That's what they're all about. They're all about just speaking truth to power. Truth to power. That's what they do. That's what they do. God.
We're not here to defend or normalize Donald Trump. We're here to report on him and to hopefully provide you insights that are going to better equip all of us in understanding these deeply unsettling times. And I am reminded of what Marty Barron, legendary editor, told his Washington Post reporters back in the first term. We're not going to war. We're going to work. So let's go to work now with David Ignatius. David, first of all, I loved, and I told Marty, I loved what he said. We're not going to war. We're going to work. I tell you what, with Mika and me, it's been very personal over the past 8 years. It has been war on both sides, political war on both sides. And I'm reminded of a conversation we had with you this summer after I called President Trump after the assassination attempt. I just talked to him and said, politics is politics. We disagree on so many things. But just, I made a call like so many other people made a call and saying, well, I was hoping that he was doing all right. We had a discussion a couple of days later, you, Mika, and myself. And you had a recommendation to Mika that kind of went along the line of what Marty Barron told the Washington Post 7-8 years ago. You want to talk about that?
So, Joe and Mika, we're in the news business, which means that we talk to people. That's part of how we do our jobs. We're also in the truth business, which means we have to hold people accountable. When we see things that we think are wrong or going to hurt the country, we have to be very forthright in saying that. Last week, when President-elect Trump named his nominees for key positions, I wrote a column saying that some of them seemed qualified and reasonable choices. Others seemed to be coming at their jobs with a wrecking ball. They were going after the military and intelligence agencies, it seemed from their past statements, in a way that would only harm those institutions. I've been a journalist now for so many years, but I can remember when I covered the Middle East, I would talk to Yasser Arafat, the head of the PLO in Beirut, and a few weeks later, I'd be talking to Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin in Jerusalem. That's just part of what doing the job means. As Mika said, her own dad, although he wasn't a journalist, was always talking to people. So I think we need to keep that in mind, those two things. We're in the news business and we're in the truth business.
David, also, I remember during the first term, at one point, you may not even remember this phone call. I was walking through the airport, and you politely said, every day, Joe, every day it's the same thing on your show. When you can find common ground, talk about it. And I've noticed you do that. I mean, I will tell you, when So many people were in shock, and
You're all about the common ground. That's what you're about. You're about the common ground.
and I were surprised too after the election result. Your first column was talking about how Donald Trump had the possibility to move us closer to peace in the Middle East. I think that was a very important column to write at the time. Again, I thought I was a little surprised when I read it right after.
Because it's obviously true. It is obviously true. I mean, seriously, have we seen a more warmongering, not warmongering. That's not what the Biden administration is. They're war stoking. That's what they do. They stoke greater chances. They increase the likelihood that third-party countries will engage in greater and greater conflict. That's what this administration is notorious for. It's like, it's almost like the merchant of death with sending out arms. We'll send it out to Ukraine. We'll send money out to Iran. They are perfect at stoking and saying, "Oh, we're on this side." And when it comes to, they know Russia is strong enough to stand on its own, so we're going to stand up for the little guy and send them billions of your dollars and weapons. And now, I mean, I didn't talk about it yesterday, but a lot of people are talking about the fact that he's offering now to engage in long-range strikes, that he authorized Ukraine to use American weaponry to engage in long-range strikes, which a lot of people are terrified is literally begging Putin to engage in nuclear war. He's literally begging for that. And Putin has said, look, I know that I have enough familiarity with weaponry to know that you're able to attach a nuclear warhead to these long-range missiles. How do I know you're not going to? And that is a precursor to nuclear war. And still, Biden, and it's not Biden, let's face it, the dude has no idea what the hell is happening. But his circle of people there have authorized the use of long-range missiles. That is horrifying. What the hell's going through your head? How insane can you possibly be? And that's what this administration has been all about. Let's just push people closer and closer and closer towards greater and greater and greater greater and greater engagement in war. That's essentially what they are. That's what this whole administration is. They're literally the opposite of what Trump did.
The election, but then you follow that up with some really tough columns about the real dangers with his DOD pick and also with Tulsi Gabbard. Is that the type of balancing you're talking about?
It is, Joe. I think
understand this. I'll let them talk a little bit more about Tulsi Gabbard. Let's see.
We in the news business, in commentary, need to call him as we see him. During Donald Trump's first term, when he did something that I thought made sense, the Abraham Accords between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are a perfect example. I said without hesitation that I thought this was good for the country, good for the region. I felt the same way about negotiating with North Korea to try to reduce the risk of nuclear war. When he did things I thought hurt the country, I tried to be as emphatic again as I could be. But we're in the business of covering the world, trying to see it whole. And if people think that we are partisans on one side or another, I think in the end, their confidence in our ability to tell the truth, to do our job declines. You see that some of that in some of the poll numbers about how people feel about journalism. I don't want to add to that.
Well, and of course, you look at the results of the election, too.
They were bashing Tulsi Gabbard. Why is it that they keep talking about how Tulsi Gabbard is a danger? She's a hazard. What has she done that makes her potentially what they call a Russian asset? You know what she did? She met with Assad. That's what she did. That she went to the Middle East, she went to Syria, and she met with Assad. She didn't go there. She claims that when she went there, she didn't know she was going to meet them. She wanted to see what was happening in the region. And when she got there, because she was a congresswoman, she was invited by Assad to come meet him. And she did. And she said, it's better to sit down with him than and talk to our enemies rather than not talk to them. That's how you can have a greater understanding of where everyone is coming from, is by actually sitting and having a conversation. And the result is that morning Joe and Mika turn around and say, oh, you're talking to the enemy. that means you're an asset. That means you're a terrible person. That's why you're a Russian asset, because Syria has great ties to Russia. So that's what makes you now a potential Putin asset. That's what makes you a threat, that you're now compromised. There's something wrong with you. That's what they said about meeting with Assad, and then they go and meet with the person they've labeled Adolf. What kind of utter hypocrisy is it that you're going around labeling Tulsi Gabbard as if she's some sort of threat to democracy, as if she's some sort of Russian asset because she met with Assad, when you go and meet with a person who 2 weeks ago you were labeling a fascist and a threat to democracy and all the other nonsense and gibberish that they were spewing out there? I mean, what the hell? What does that even? You're such a friggin' hypocrite. You're such a hypocrite. Because either it makes sense to talk to your enemies or it does not. It's not that it makes sense when you decide to do it, and if anyone else decides to do it, that makes them evil, terrible, and a threat to society. But that's the hypocrisy of Morning Joe.
A new approach, I think, is needed where, again, we speak truth to power. We push.
When? When did that happen besides with Trump? Tell us when that happened with the Biden administration, because I don't know. I missed that memo. I missed it. When the bully turned to bullies. Joe Good Logic is better than Joe Piscopo is better than Joe Scarborough. Well, thank you. I think that's pretty spot on. Yeah. People tend to think everyone is liked, and Democrats becoming so obsequious now says a lot about the plans they have for regular conservatives. Yeah, because it shows that we know if we were in power what we were going to do to you, and we don't want that happening to us. So we're going to go and kiss his rump and pray that it doesn't happen to us. That's spot on, Derna. When we sell weapons, why do we think we can control them? By USA attaching conditions the need for our approval means we also are at war when they are used. Well, at least if there's a public face saying, no, you can't use this against Russia. So now to give a public green light, which supposedly everyone had understood that they had given that green light a long time ago. But you're right. Once you're selling it to them, it's like, well, who are they going to be? Who are they using it on? France? I mean, who's Ukraine using it on? Seriously, who are they using if not Russia? Like, oh, I think the Indians may be a threat. We might have to drop some long-range missiles on them. I don't think they're using those long-range missiles on Chile. It's just my gut. I think everyone understood that was they're trained on Moscow. So you're correct, Allegan.
Back hard, like we push back hard, whether it was with Barack Obama, whether it was
when did that happen? Who did you do? Tell us the incident where you pushed back hard on Barack Obama.
With George W. Bush, whether it was obviously with Donald Trump or Joe Biden.
Where? Yeah, when in the last 4 years did you push back on Joe Biden? I mean, just stop it. Just stop it. So who the hell do you think you're kidding?
I want to ask you, John Meacham, bring you in here, we discussed this last night, and I was asking you your thoughts, and you said, you know, this is going to be a consequential presidency. It just is, one way or the other. The question is whether it's going to be constructive. And I'm just curious, your thoughts. We saw pics last week that I think were horrifying to a good number of Americans, for many Republicans as well. So these are extraordinarily fraught times. I'm curious about where we stand right now in history, what you've seen, what is the best way forward, not only for reporters, but for all Americans. And what does history teach us about moments like these?
And also what they'll do is when they're doing it, they'll be like, well, that's what they would have done to us. How do we know? Well, we know them. They're terrible people. So that's how we know they would have done to us.
Yeah, it's the most significant test of citizenship and of our, really, I would argue, our patriotic commitments, as opposed to our nationalistic appetites. So bear with me for a second. Patriotism, properly understood, is an allegiance not just to one's own kind, folks who look like you, but to an idea. And for us, that idea is the Declaration of Independence as embodied, that's the North Star. And then the Constitution as amended is the user's guide. And I think America has always can judge itself on how fully or how incompletely we're in accord with the principles of the Declaration. That's
Okay. Where do we ever hear you mention the Constitution in the last 4 years? Because that seems to have just gone out the window when we were talking about freedom of speech.
Patriotism, and you assent, you agree to that idea. Nationalism is a loyalty to people who are already in your tribe, who are already in your clan with a.
Not really. That's not what nationalism is. It's to your nation.
With a C. And so, to me, those are competing impulses. They've been competing impulses from the beginning of the American project, and they'll continue to be. And so, to me, the great test is how do those of us who fundamentally believe that the incoming administration is so likely to be out of sync with the constitutional norms, the ethos that so many of us grew up with. And
what's out of sync?
The fact that so many of us and everybody that we're talking to this morning has been part of this. I don't want to drag Ignatius totally into this, give him some cover, but we've argued again and again and again that a second Trump presidency was simply not worth the risk of the chaos and the unconstitutionalism.
The unconstitutionalism. You literally ignored the Constitution and bastardized the Constitution when you tried getting him off the ticket. And when you ignored his presidential immunity. The lack of constitutionalism. You're such a freaking hack.
But guess what? Those of us who believe in democracy have to obey the verdicts of that democracy. And as you pointed out, a dispositive number of American voters decided to try this one more time.
It's such a good thing that he got more than 50% of the vote. It's such a good thing, because we would be hearing so much more whining right now from the elitists like this clown, whose name, honestly, I have no idea what it is, but we would be hearing so much more whining and belly aching about if she had won the popular vote, we would be hearing all about how the Electoral College has to be discarded. And we wouldn't be hearing any of this rhetoric about we're big believers in the Constitution. Oh, we're big believers. That's what being a patriot's about.
And so we have a patriotic question. What do? We can't leave the arena, because that would be preemptive surrender and defeat. So we have to stay in the arena and patriotically stand for what we believe in. And so I think that's where a lot of the country is. I'm very worried that, and I suspect y'all are hearing the same thing, that so many people seem so worn out by this struggle. And again, it's not mindless opposition, let's be clear. But it's also, it does require, as Jefferson said, eternal vigilance. And I would argue that the most important thing we can do at this point is enable the folks who stand on the guardrails. And in this immediate case, it's the Senate, right? We need to, if you believe that some of these
2 years ago, you wanted to get rid of the filibuster and turn it into a 50-50 and leave the other folks out in the cold. All of a sudden now, we're all about the guardrails. We're all about the guardrails. We have to have at least 7 Democratic senators stand in the way of saving democracy. They literally, the filibuster has 2 references to it. The way it's commonly used when people talk about eliminating the filibuster is that whenever you want to get anything passed in the Senate that's not an appropriations bill, that's not about money, but it's something about, policy that's unrelated to money, you need to pass the 60 senator threshold, which used to be a 2/3 threshold. They lowered that down from 66 to 60. But over the last couple of years, when they were frustrated that they couldn't get what they wanted all the time. So they were like, we need to eliminate the filibuster. We need to eliminate the filibuster. Now, frankly, the filibuster is a good thing. And this is something I need to explain to you about politics in general. The filibuster is a very, very good thing. Because the purpose of the Senate, you have to ask yourself, why is it that the Senate, we give them 6 years, and the House, we give them 2 years? Why we structure it that way? What's the deal with that this one gets 3 times as long as the other one? And the objective to having these two houses is that we say that we want the adults, the ones who are willing to swallow the poison pill, the ones who are willing to actually go through bad times, not to be worrying about their political futures. Because sometimes you sort of need to go through some tough times. Sometimes you need to sort of deal with the struggle. So that's we need to deal with the struggle of perhaps not having the best prosperity, perhaps not having everything change radically from one mood swing to another. So if we make it a 2/3 majority or even 60, the idea is you're going to need to have some sort of bipartisanship. This is back when we actually thought that Democrat versus Republican, or I guess back then it was Whigs and things of that nature. It's before Republican Party. But that these different political parties would be eating up enough portions of the Senate that you would need to have some level of bipartisanship in order to get anything passed. And that's why that control was given specifically to the Senate, which has equal representation for all the states, because you have to understand that coming out of the Revolutionary War and creating the Constitution, we were very strongly concerned about the powers of states, which is why it's incorporated. The 10th Amendment is incorporated in the Bill of Rights as like everything. The default goes back to the states, not the federal government. And the notion was that if the federal government is going to intercede, we want to know that you have a healthy majority of the states that are going along with it, and that you're not just shoving things and forcing them down on their throat because you have a majority of the number of people. So certain states which have a greater populace, like back then, you're talking about, in the late 18th century. So states like New York or Virginia, whatever, states that were much bigger than other states, they're not going to be able to bully the Rhode Islands of the world. They're not going to be able to bully back then, I guess, the Georgias of the world, which had much fewer people. So we stop them from doing that, and we keep the adults in the room by basically saying, okay, you only need a majority in the House, because the House is representing the number of people you have in the country. But you need to have 2/3 of the states of the Senate go along with it. Well, that later got cut back from 2/3 to 60. But the idea is that they're the ones who are going to have the patience. They'll have the patience to sort of say, okay, let's slow our roll a little bit here, unless most of the country is going along with it, and it's by a noticeable majority is going along with it. We're going to slow our roll here to ensure that it's not just a certain portion of the country. We have a high population that's getting swept away. That's going to be dragging the rest of the country in directions that they don't want to go. So that's why we gave the Senate 6 years, because they are representing the states, because there is equal representation, whether it's California or Rhode Island. And that's why you need to have the filibuster, the greater number, the greater percentage in the Senate, as opposed to just needing a simple majority in the House. So when Democrats were frustrated by the fact that, hey, we're holding both houses and the White House, and we want to be able to, pass all these different bills because we're so excited, and we're very frustrated by the filibuster. They were screaming, let's get rid of the filibuster, because they basically didn't like it at that point. But the whole point was to keep them in check from basically running wild. And frankly, it's to keep the Republicans right now in check from running wild and doing whatever the hell they want. It's a healthy thing. Frankly, it should be applied to appropriations. The country would be a lot better if it did. But it doesn't. That's just the reality of it. Anyhow, so that's so it's kind of funny to hear him talking about how much he believes in the filibuster right now, and relying on on the Senate to keep them in check, when for the last 4 years they hated the filibuster. They hated the fact that they couldn't use their slim majority to basically push through every policy they wanted to push through. Anyhow, so that was a relatively lengthy overview I gave you of where Morning Joe and Mika were coming from. Mika, Miko, who cares? Whatever. We're coming from when they went down to Mar-a-Lago and announced that, hey, now we're the party here now, which is all about having conversations, helping conversations. So how did their folks take it? How they take it? People are like, oh wow, that's a great point. We need to make inroads with the Republicans. That's what we need to do. That's what needs to happen next. Is that what happened? No. No. The Huffington Post not having it. Not having it. Sit down with Trump backfires spectacularly on Morning Joe host. How dare you sit down with Adolf? It seems both sides can agree on something. What were Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski thinking? No. We are not having it. Looks like liberals and conservatives on social media can actually agree on something. Donald Trump's interview on Morning Joe was a bad idea. Host Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski met with President-elect on Friday, told viewers on Monday's show they saw it's time to restart communications after a long-standing feud. What was the feud? The feud was, okay, we're just going to be bashing you all the time and completely gaslighting the country about everything you say for purposes of trying to gain political capital. Trump used to be a regular guest before he first ran in 2016. And what was that? What the hell was that? And he had a friendly relationship with the couple in the early days of the campaign, but in 2017, things went south. Brzezinski said she and Scarborough only met with Trump to restart communications, and her co-host and real-life husband added that they aren't here to defend or normalize Donald Trump. Really? Really? It's not normalizing him? It seems like it's normalizing him. However, many people on social media who lean left were skeptical of the couple's motives, especially since Trump told Fox News how Scarborough and Brzezinski congratulated me on running a great and flawless campaign, one for the history books, which I really believe it was. And it really was. It was a great campaign. So that's what he told Fox News. Should we hear him say that? Should we get a clip of that? I don't know if I'll find it so fast, and Fox News sucks. So here's the left. Here's the left's reaction. I don't know what's worse, being gaslighted by these two or feeling sorry for the true journalists on their show to witness this craven display of fealty to Mr. Hitler. Sure, have a good talk and say goodbye to your sane viewers who are not putting up with this crap. Yeah, you're very, very sane, Vicky. You're very, very sane. You still have your hair? You still have your hair, Vicky? You still have it? Mika doesn't want to cut her hair. She doesn't want to cut her hair. She don't want to cut it. She doesn't want to part with her blonde locks. Diane Callahan saying, what a huge mistake. The problem has always been that Trump has been normalized. Why continue? We're falling back into the trap. That was the problem? That's your analysis, Diane? That was the problem? Oh, okay. He was too normalized. They're so stupid. Oh, so stupid. But I guess she's not happy that they're falling back into the trap. Falling back in. Then you have N. Signorel saying, bowing in advance, cowards. Cowards. Well, Brian Stelter saying, Joe and Mika went to Mar-a-Lago to talk with Trump over the weekend. First face-to-face meeting in 7 years. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so, Joe NBC says. What we did agree on was to restart communications. Oh my God. That's hard on the throat. Republicans against Trump were particularly outraged, not too happy with Joe and Mika. This is why people don't trust the mainstream media anymore. Oh, is this really why? Is this why? Is this why? This is why. Joe and Mika constantly attacked Pastor Trump on the show, went to Mar-a-Lago, talked to Trump on the weekend. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. We told him so. Oh, that's why. I cannot think of any better cuck name than Republicans against Trump, which ironically, and certainly this is what God intended, has an acronym of RAT. Republicans against Trump. Big surprise that they don't have a capital A in the against. Big shocker. Big shocker. And God wrote the English language. It was probably just so that Republicans against Trump would have an acronym of RAT. Breaking news. I told you so. Keith Olbermann. What are these crazy? They're breaking down these cowards. You are the worst person of the day. I wonder if he had any sort of reaction. Let's see if he had anything bigger than that. Let's check out Keith Olbermann here. When I don't go in through Trump, let's see if he had anything more loony. This guy's such a lunatic.
Good evening. Abby is out. I'm John Berman. You might know me from a cable morning show, though not the one that might soon have a defense secretary who paid a woman that accused him of sexual assault, nor the one that just sent 2 anchors to Mar-a-Lago, then talked about it like it was the Yalta Summit. No, I co-host the morning show here on CNN.
Oh, yeah, you're a very important person. You're a very important person. They're so angry. They're so angry. Honest to God, I'm surprised MSNBC hasn't named new morning hosts already. Those cringing cowards, Joe, NBC, and Morning Mika, are done in this business. All day long, Olbermann posting about Joe and Mika. This morning, Joe and Mika, who owe their careers to me, went on this show and claimed to have met with me. They made it sound like we had a summit. The truth is, Joe begged to meet me with Joe begged. This is such a great quote. The truth is, Joe begged to meet with me after our big win, and when I finally agreed, he approached me like a scolded dog. He should consider himself lucky that I didn't have him thrown out of beautiful Mar-a-Lago. Mika was charming as usual. This is not a real post from Donald Trump. This is something that someone created. This is not a real post. I don't want to gaslight my own audience. I'm going to tell you now, this is not a real post. This is just what was shared around because it just sounds like Donald Trump would say it like this. And I love the fact that for me, my favorite line in this whole fake post is that the last line is Mika was charming as usual. It's such a perfect line because A, he's sort of kissing up to the woman a little bit, and B, you don't know if he's being sarcastic with Mika was charming as usual, or like, you don't know if it's real, you don't know if it's sarcastic, and that's what makes it all the more brilliant. Oh my God. So Keith Olbermann is not having a good day. He's not a happy person today.
Cast, let the show trials begin. The Trump transition team leaks that it plans a commission to investigate courts-martial for senior military leadership over the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the withdrawal that was entirely Trump's fault. But of course, in a dictatorship, It's not just
totally Trump's fault. Totally. Yeah, okay, it was under the Biden administration. Yeah, okay, they really bungled that you kind of like want to pull out, your weaponry but instead of leaving behind billions of dollars of the most advanced weaponry in the world for terrorists, that's sort of like what you do rather than leaving it behind like it's an old pair of socks at a campsite. But that's totally on Trump. Totally.
One-man rule, but everybody but that one man gets blamed. And so, in the light of this leak and a report by NBC News that these show trials will occur.
Why do they all have those glasses? Why? What's the deal with those glasses? And are my glasses too similar? That's the concern I have. Why do they all have that? This isn't complex. Has always been a political whore. Well, speaking of him being a political whore, there's this too. There's this too. There's more to his political whoring. I'll get there in a moment. His political whoring. Hi for the gold. Jenny! Get him, Jenny. Do I need a... Everyone ranks on my boomerang. Everyone, look, this is it's part of the charm. It's part... That's what I keep telling myself. It's part of the charm. You have half of MSNBC Morning Joe in key demo. Why Morning Joe went to... Half of MSNBC Morning Joe in key demo. Why Morning Joe went to try to build audience under 50. Oh, and the key demographic? I don't know. Oh, you say I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know. I have a different take. Big Pharma put the thumbscrews on to make nice. RFK Jr. is going to ban their ads. Big Pharma gave networks an ultimatum. Well, that could be. That could be. We should talk a little bit about the hypocrisy here of Joe Scarborough. This is Joe Scarborough talking with a much younger Joe Scarborough, talking with a much younger RFK. And he was on Scarborough Country. This is before his secretary, died, was killed, or whatever. Well, there we go. Look at RFK Jr.
My son, born
That's a little terrible.
in 1991, has a slight form of autism called Asperger's. But it seems, and again, when I was practicing law, and also when I was in Congress, parents would constantly come to me, and they'd bring me videotapes of their children, and they were all around the age of my son or younger.
The generation...
So something happened in 1989.
Exactly. The generation... What happened was the vaccine schedule was increased. We went up from receiving about 10 vaccines in our generation to these kids received 24 vaccines. And they all had this...
And just the normal caveats. There's no medical advice here. I'm not giving medical advice. They're not giving medical advice. There's no medical advice here. Go talk to your doctor. YouTube wants me to tell you. I don't want to go through that again. But yeah, there's no medical advice here. And this is not medical advice. This is just for political conversation to show you where Joe Scarborough was on this issue, I don't know, 30 years ago?
Thimerosal and this mercury, and nobody bothered to do an analysis of what the cumulative impact of all that mercury was doing to kids. As it turns out, we are injecting our children with 400 times the amount of mercury that FDA or EPA considers safe. A child on his first day that he's born is injected with a hepatitis B shot. Under EPA guidelines, he would have to be 275 pounds to safely absorb that shot.
And yet we're just constantly pumping our kids with these vaccines.
Right, and what happened was that in 19...
Is Joe Scarborough an anti-vaxxer? Is he an anti-vaxxer? And again, there's no medical advice here. I want to be very crystal clear because YouTube wants me to tell you that I'm not a doctor, they're not doctors, none of us are doctors. You need to talk to your doctors about vaccines and all other things that you need to keep you safe. YouTube wants me to tell you that, and I am.
In 88, 1 in every 2,500 American children had autism. Today, 1 in every 166 children have autism. And plus, 1 in 6 children have other kinds of learning disorders, other kinds of neurological disorders, speech delay, language disorders, ADD, hyperactivity, that all seem to be connected, that are all connected, the science shows are all connected to autism.
You know, Bobby, what we've always found, you and I could debate 1,000 different issues, whether it's Terry Schiavo or the environment. I think would agree on the environment. But
there's one thing that we agree on. You know what the one thing they agree on? You want to hear what the one thing they agree on is?
In this case, you've got the federal government coming in saying, well, there's no good science. And of course, in politics, science always gets diluted. Why hasn't the federal government stepped up and worked more? Because listen, Bobby, I can't prove it tonight. You can't prove it, but intuitively, you look at the spike, you look at what happened with the Thimerosal, there is no doubt in my mind, maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now, maybe it's 10 years from now, we're going to find out that the Thimerosal causes, in my opinion, autism.
You know what? The science is...
He's not a doctor. You need to talk to your doctor about medical issues, and certainly when it comes to vaccine. I'm certainly not discouraging anyone from getting vaccinated, and you should not look at that clip and take any medical advice from it. But that's where Joe Scarborough was when he sat down with Kennedy a couple of decades ago, and now they're talking about him as, oh, he's a crazy person who's cutting off the heads of whales and dropping off bears in Central Park. He's a crazy anti-vaxxer. Well, what is Joe Scarborough? I don't understand. What is Joe? What the hell was that? What the hell was you saw what I saw? I don't want to show it again because I have to give all these different caveats. And by the way, don't think I'm kidding about the caveats. I really, really do need to give you those caveats. I'm not doing it as some sort of shtick. It's not like a joke type of thing. If I do not give those caveats, I will get a strike because they'll say I'm medical misinformation and I'm a danger to society. So that's why I need everyone to know that I'm definitely, I mean, sincerely, I'm not giving medical advice here. And there's no, that's not the point to sharing that clip with you. So the point is not to share a perspective on medicine. The point is to show how Joe Scarborough himself has done like a complete flip, a complete crazy flip here, where now he's bashing Kennedy. I don't have any clips here. I could probably find one if I just spend like 30 seconds looking for it. Let's see. Scarborough. Oh, that's not good. No, I've seen some clips. This is funny.
And Frank Bruni.
This is Joe Scarborough just 10 days ago. They were so mad.
And Frank Bruni says Democrats never got it. That while we were looking at all of the crazy things Donald Trump was saying on the campaign trail, all of the frightening things Donald Trump was saying on the campaign trail, they were looking at their wallet. They were looking what groceries cost, what gas costs, what rent costs. And none of that really penetrated their conscience when they went to vote.
So angry. Oh, my God. I'm trying to find it now, and I'm struggling. That's not going to be it. Well, I don't know. I don't want to waste any more time on this. But I cannot figure out. I mean, I can figure out. He's basically a born paid for hack. That's what he is. And that's just what he's all about. So all of a sudden now, and so when he's coming to make nice to Trump, it's not because he cares about the good of America. He did not wake up suddenly and care about the good of America. Mika did not wake up suddenly and care about the good of America. All they were caring about was their own wallets. That's all this is about. What will best help our wallet? What will help best ensure our safety from being prosecuted? What will best help us? That's all Morning Joe has ever been about. And that's how, because otherwise he's such a ridiculous hypocrite, as I pointed out. What he said about Tulsi and how him meeting with the enemy is a reason to discard her as being someone who should ever be taken seriously. And then he goes and meets with the very person that he's been bashing for the last 8 years. How does that not reveal that he's all lip service, and that lip service is only geared towards one thing, and that is what is going to help me, Joe Scarborough. And same for his wife. So that's my take on that. I'll be back on, man. Hospital, this is day 8, necrotic tissue, open wound healing slowly. Prayers greatly appreciate. Both of us send our love to you. Good night. And prayers for your husband. I'm sorry that he's dealing with that. They're called birth control glasses. Oh, those hard rims. That's pretty funny. Morning, Joe. Key demo is 24K. You have half of their key demo. Is 24K? Oh, key demo is gold. You have half of their key demo. Why MSM is dead and New Media King. Good Lawgic is the new media. Joe Scarborough, if you're watching this and you want to reach out to me, that's fine. But I'm not for sale. I'm just going to have you basically start to own. I'll walk you down the path as to how it is that you can start. Perhaps, I don't know. For some of you all, it's too late, and you're probably one of them. Start working your way back toward credibility. Just start. Just start. A journey of 10,000 miles begins with the first step. And the first step is owning all of the lies, BS, and gaslighting that you've been giving people for years and years. And it also requires a great deal of humility and the ability to say, I was wrong. That's what it's going to take. But that's true. I face you next week, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to bloodbath you. Okay? We started late tonight. I know. Sorry about that. I was taking care of some very, very important stuff. And I noticed that I'm playing Wellesley next week in the Good Lawgic Fantasy Football League. And I'm just telling you now, no offense, but I am going to get schmat to you. Stop being YouTube's little and come join the people you're ignoring on Rumble. You see, what happened was with Rumble, I'm glad you brought that up. I had Rumble up here. And then I couldn't find them. I lost them. Everything got crazy on me here. Everything got crazy. There it is. I was looking. There we go. Palmyra Production says, Jungle Bunny Joe finally finding out the connection between anal and senile leanings. Thank you, Joe. We honor you on this day. Okay. Thank you for I don't know what you're sharing with me here. I don't know what you're doing, Palmyra. Ramblon says voting is an illusion of choice. They still are counting in some states. They conceal what they need to stay in control. We did blow them out this time. It will be fun to watch. We really did blow them out. Palmyra says, how many shekels pays attention to us on Rumble? It keeps throwing me these $1 chats. Ew, shekel. What the heck is happening here? The reason I didn't open this up, Lord, I refuse to fuel the evil empire YouTube, so I shall give you your 20 shekels here on Rumble, 1 shekel at a time. Okay. Andres Burzin says, Morning Joe went to meet in Florida to threaten DJT. Both of MJ are deep state agents that only preach the CIA, etc. Their lies. What happened was, when I was pulling out one thing and then another thing, I have all these different windows open. I'll show you right now. Just give you an idea. Just to give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. Just so you have an idea what I'm dealing with. I want to show you what I'm dealing with. See this over here? Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom. When I roll over my Chrome, how many windows I got? That's what I'm dealing with. There's good reason that I have every one of those windows, but that's what I was dealing with. And somewhere in here is where I had Rumble. And if I tried clicking on this, and I tried clicking to see, what's this one? Oh, what's this one? Oh, what's this one? Oh, what's this one? And I was doing it like that. It was disrupting my rebroadcast and sharing of the Morning Joe thing that I was showing there. So I was like, crap, I can't look for my Rumble screen until I stop watching that. And yeah, so that's why everything sort of got held in abeyance there. But I apologize to the ghetto. You know, I love you guys. I want you so much. I want you, ghetto. You're my besties. I want you, ghetto. So it was not trying to ignore you, Palmyra. I wasn't trying to ignore you. No. I just couldn't get that window open. When I tried opening that window, I tried opening a brand new one in case I'd gotten any rants, and they weren't showing me the live chat. So I was like, this is getting very frustrating. Why does Nika stay in the shadow of her husband? She needs to rise up and shave her head to show patriarchy is dead. That's what she should be doing. Let me go check on my diggers. Everything okay with you guys here? There's Viola. Viola's here. She's happy. Okay. All right. The diggers are happy. Okay. They're doing their regular digging. Speaking of being happy.
Hey, Trump support.
In case you think that getting older necessarily means getting wiser, it's not always the case.
Hey, Trump supporter. Let me ask you, are you happy now?
Yes. Very, very happy. Yes. Yes, I am.
You have control of the Supreme Court?
Not really, because it's not really about, it's really the neocons have control of the Supreme Court.
Donald Trump's your new president?
Yes.
You now have the House of Representatives?
Barely, but that's still enough.
And the Senate?
That's true. We do.
All branches of government under your control.
Yep.
Are you happy?
Oh, yes. Yes, we is. We're very, very happy.
Are you finally happy?
It's a matter of, it's really more a matter of relieved that we're not going to be oppressed by evil folks like the ones you've been voting for.
You've been promising for the last 10 years you're going to take America back again.
I don't remember promising that at all. I don't remember once making that promise. It's nice that it happened. I kind of was predictable, I guess, that either you're going to keep cheating or America would wake up into just how self-destructive democratic policies are.
That you were going to rule America.
It's not a matter of ruling America. It's a matter of not having our course be driven off a cliff. That's all. See, here's the thing. It's not like, oh, we're going to affect all these different, no, we're just going to course correct from the ridiculous, driving off the cliff direction that Democrats have had us on for far too long.
Well, you've won.
Yeah.
You've won it all.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Very.
Are you satisfied?
Well, I'll be satisfied when the policies get changed. I'm not satisfied just yet. We're getting there. We're on our way. Let's see when the confirmations happen and then when people doing their roles. But definitely very happy. Yes. November's going well. November's been good. Been a really, really solid November.
Are you dancing? Are you rejoicing?
Oh, have you not seen the whole young men? Have you not seen? Because we've been dancing. There's been a lot of dancing, a lot of rejoicing.
Does it make you feel good that about 90% of all the black folks here in the country feel like their civil rights are in danger?
You see, I can't worry about the feels. First of all, it's definitely not 90%. That's a pretty stupid number. That's like a child would come up with that kind of number. Because about 20% of them voted. It's pretty racist to assume for Trump. So I think that's kind of stupid. And second of all, we know that their civil rights are not in any kind of danger at all. No one was looking for their civil rights being endangered, and they're not, because we're constitutionalists and we believe that civil rights apply to all persons, whether no matter what their skin color is, their gender, or frankly, how big a loony they are. Even if they're, part of the T community, they still have civil rights. So that's where we're coming from.
Does that make you happy?
You see, that, and if there are a small percentage of loonies who think that's true, people you're hanging out with, that we think is funny. That's what we think is funny.
Does it make you happy that all gay and lesbian and trans people feel threatened by our government now?
Really? All of them? Wow. all of them? Every one of them? Brandon Straka, the whole walk away for the gay community. Did you meet Scott Pressler? Have you met freaking Scott Pressler? That guy's pretty gay. I have a great clip of a great cartoon clip of Scott Pressler. So yeah, I don't really swallow this. See, this is your problem right here. Is that you sort of throw it together because you got your whole alphabet community, and you sort of throw them all together as if they're all the same, which is definitely not the truth. Definitely not at all the case. Not at all the case. You sort of throw them all together here, and you say just because, the right is so much against grooming, it means they hate gay people. Like, how old are you? What kind of old fart are you that you think that's actually how things work here?
Are you happy? Are you happy that the same people, thousands, that built hanging gallows on the steps of the Capitol and shattered windows?
Thousands built gallows. Is that what happened? Is that really what happened? Do this.
Killed people.
No, killed nobody. Nobody. I can't.
Are now back in the highest seats of government.
Who did they kill? Name one person they killed. Who's the person? Killed 0 people. Do this.
That's what you want? Are you happy?
So stupid. It's like he thinks he's being so profound here with his whole "Are you happy?" speech. Are you happy speech? He's just like, who the hell? Who is this guy? How is it that he's like? How does someone this old become this stupid? Is this Alzheimer's? What happens here?
We have the person that Donald Trump wants to appoint as the head of the Justice Department of the United States of America, who's been under investigation for having sex with minors and sex trafficking. Are you happy?
Does that so you don't believe in innocence until proven guilty? You don't believe that? You don't think that he would have been prosecuted if he had done something? I mean, this is the intelligent left. This right here is what they deem like, oh, here's the wise old man. He's the wise old man right here.
That's what you want for the country. You have a Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, who's going to be the head of Obamacare and HHS and the CDC, that believes that vaccines and medicines that have...
It's what Morning Joe was just telling you. Did you not hear Morning Joe? I don't want to talk about the V word anymore because I get very antsy about that.
And you sing about victory in Jesus. And you've made almost half of the other side of the country want to vomit.
No one cares about that because they're idiots. Yeah. Because anyone who's spouting the same nonsense you're spouting here is an idiot. So if they want to vomit, no one cares. No one cares. Just because you're a child who thinks that anyone who's stupid enough to think that the civil rights of black people are endangered is a hair's breadth away from believing that blue monkeys are going to come out of the sky and attack them. It's the stupidest thing. First of all, if monkeys came out of the sky, there's no reason to think that they would be, bluer than any other monkeys. That's part of the reason. I don't know what this guy's about. I don't know.
Think about coming into your churches and your place of worship.
Oh my God.
And the denigration.
I can't listen to this anymore. And I did want to share with you. I promised you I was going to share with you a Scott Pressler thing, which I thought was awesome. So let's. And here it is. Here's the very next one. This is awesome. I really hope I don't get a strike for this thing. But this is great.
Come on, Freebeard. It would really make a world of difference if you guys came out to vote this year.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pressler. We don't take sides. Because nobody is on our side. We don't tend to get involved in politics. Where would you like me to drop you, Mr. Pressler?
Drop me off in Kitchen Kettle Village. There's something over that way I'd like to show you.
What? Many of these businesses were my partners. Shops I've known from grass and mortar.
It's really good.
I'm sorry, Freebeard.
Shapiro. A liberal should know better.
Instead of Saruman. Shapiro. This is a takeoff of Lord of the Rings Twin Towers, where the hobbits talk Treebeard into going to see all the destruction that's happening to the forest, and he's like, "Some of these trees were my best friends."
There is no curse in Swiss, German, or the English tongue for this treachery. My business is with the DNC tonight. To the ballot box. Come, my friends.
Here come the Amish.
Yes. The Amish are going to vote.
Here come the Amish to vote. This is great, right? It's great. This is great. Yeah, I thought you guys would. When the Amish come out to vote, you know it's serious. You know it's very, very serious. Beautiful Maya, hitting me up here. FYI, the idea autism came from vax originated from one fraudulent study in 1998 by a UK doctor with 13 participants handpicked for study. Doctor since lost license. No study since has linked autism to vax. I'm not a doctor, but special educator, Matt MSED. I'll tell you right now. I'm not a doctor. All kidding aside, I'm not a doctor. My personal history is that, prior to 2020, I took vaccines without any hesitation, and I looked at people who were questioning them as being kind of kooky. In my own community, really more in the Hasidic community, there were people who had grave concerns about it. My daughter's a PA. She has 4 children, the oldest of whom is 4. No twins in there, just a lot of blessing from God. And she's a PA. All her kids are vaxxed. I trust her on medicine, better than pretty much more than anyone else I know. And I think it's very possible that there are other issues which are leading to it. I don't know personally. I don't know anything about it. And I don't think that all... I'm not a doctor. I just wouldn't think that just because you give something a label of it's this, that makes it's the V word, that you label it that it actually is the same as something else that we label the V word. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think people use language in order to sort of confuse us rather than educate us. So that's why you should talk to your doctor about this sort of thing. But I always looked at them as if they were kooky, and I don't really look at it just because you give something a label of X makes it X. The same way I would when you use that term X when you were talking about measles or mumps or rubella. Like, I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing. People talk about, and I don't want to get into the science of this because, like I said, I'm ignorant in this. How am I helping anyone? I'm not enlightening anyone on it, but I'll tell you right now, people who I think I can understand the need for there to be further study about things working in conjunction with each other and potential harms, and whether there's elements in our environment, whether it's in our food or in the atmosphere in general. I don't know. But if we see a trend which is harmful to our society, you would think that we should take note of that trend and at least try to engage in some sort of investigation to figure out why it's happening, rather than just pretending it's not happening. And I think all of us have noticed a trend of a significant increase in autism. When I was growing up, I didn't know anyone autistic. The labels, it's not that we changed the designation and labels. I have a couple of relatives who are in education, child education, and they say those labels have not been changed. It's not that it's been broadened, and that's why more people are considered on the spectrum or autistic or things of that nature, but that there actually is a higher incidence, and that I genuinely believe we still don't know why that is. But the first step is to recognize that it's happening, and then the second step is to engage in studies to figure out why is it happening. And to jump to a conclusion that, oh, it's because of this is what we're doing to kids when they're young versus that, versus the food, versus, I think that RFK makes some great points when he talks about the fact that we're allowing ingredients in our food that are banned in most of Europe. Well, why the heck are they being banned in Europe? And if it's unhealthy for Europeans, you would think it's not any healthier for us, that we're not any more immune to the harmful effects of it than Europeans are. And those effects are more likely to be, in fact, impactful on a developing child than they are in an adult. So, and it could be, and it also can be, it's a combination of those foods together with various XYZ other factors that I was just discussing. So I certainly have no idea myself. And I really do think you should talk to your own doctor as to what's right for you. I'm not just saying it. I really mean it. You don't trust me for medical advice. I'm insulted. I do trust you, Shia. I trust you. You're like my brother. I trust you. But but if I'm asking my own daughter, my own daughter, I don't know. Didn't they say a couple of definitions during Trump's first presidency? I can't read. When I use certain words, it literally is begging. It's begging YouTube to take a very harsh. I know this stream is yellow already, and I won't even challenge this one. When this one goes yellow, I'm like, all right, just do what you have to. Just don't give me a medical misinformation strike. I'll push back on the EU regulations a bit. The EU is a trade cartel. They will ban whatever is in American food to protect their domestic production. That's a fair counterpoint. That's a really fair. Here's the problem. The problem we have is that I do feel as if there's too much politics there's too much politics, period. When it comes to the FDA, there's too much politics about an HHS, FDA. There's too much politics in our IRS. There's too much politics in our CIA, our FBI. There's just too much politics, which is kind of weird for political analysts to say, but it's just the reality. Half the people on TikTok now diagnose themselves as autistic with no doctor. It's become fashionable. I'm not saying that people don't want to claim victimhood. Everyone claims they're ADD or have some other issue. I'm saying people who are legit on the spectrum. I never would have thought that I would have two nephews who are autistic on opposite sides of my family. One from my blood side of the family, one from Lady Lawgic. Like, they're not related to each other at all. It used to be like 1 in 10,000 kids, and now I have like 25 nephews, and 2 of them are autistic in varying degrees, manifesting in completely different ways. And I'm probably using the word autistic improperly. I'm certainly not. If any of them see this show, I'm not trying to ascribe labels. What I'm saying is, as from a non-medical diagnosis, is that there's some type of autism, or some sort of, if not autism, because I don't know the definition of the term autistic, but there's definitely a noticeable distinction between them and their siblings, as far as their ability to develop from childhood into adulthood. That there's a marked distinction as far as their development, which is something that we never saw before. So is it like technically autistic? I don't know. They're not my kid, and it's not my job to raise them. And they have to be great. Both of them are great people, like really like awesome people. That doesn't mean that they are, you know. It doesn't mean that there's not some sort of medical issues that they're dealing with, which were uncommon to be dealing with 30 years ago. So. I think that's what I had to say about that. I have a couple more funny clips with you, but first I got one last story I need to cover. Okay, I can't wait on this. I can't wait on this one. This one I just love so much. This is a song I've loved for a long time. And this will cheer me up because now I'm not in a great mood. I started in a great mood, and this topic just got me all upset. This topic got me all bothered. I need cheering up, and you might need cheering up. So this will cheer you up. This, I guarantee you, this will cheer you up.
And then the smoke got. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody get down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that.
Kamala as the bronchitis woman. Oh my God. This is genius. This is why the internet was created. This is why God created the internet right here.
Ain't nobody getting down for that.
Do not come.
Ain't nobody getting down for that.
Do not come.
Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that.
You better thank a union member.
Ain't nobody getting down for that.
I'm speaking.
Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Well, I woke up to cold, give me a pole pop. Then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes and none. Jesus, I ran for my life. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that.
2024.
Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that. They said, oh, Lord Jesus is a fire. I said, oh, Lord Jesus is a fire. I said, oh, Lord Jesus is a fire. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that. Ain't nobody getting down for that.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Ain't nobody getting down. Ain't nobody getting down for that.
And you know, we have to stay woke. Like everybody needs to be woke.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
That is, I love everything about that. I know. It is. I'll share a link over on Locals. Check out Locals. I'll share the link for that. See, I knew that would cheer you up. How would that not cheer you up? I want that to be my ringtone. Okay, I want Kamala singing "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That" as my ringtone. I gotta figure out how to do that. But I want that as my ringtone. To be clear, I'm not telling anyone to get or not to get Vids. Doctor and has studied it intensively. I agree. We need to talk to doctors. All research says it's combo soon of environment and genetics. What that environment factor is the question. Yep. See, you're gonna be on the same page. Master Phillips, 2020 put the whole allopathic machine on trial, in my opinion. Yeah, it changed everything. Also showed us just how deep politics runs, right? I mean, it shows how deep politics really runs into every element in areas that everyone knows politics should not be playing a role in, and yet there it is. We all knew it. Those of us who were really following along knew it when it came to climate. They were like, oh my God, this is politics seeping into science and basically buying the science it wants to buy for a political agenda. And people thought, oh, okay, so that's, it's on an agenda where there's a financial incentive that people are doing research and, maybe we'll go a little greener and have cleaner earth and all that other great stuff. I don't think any of us really imagined that would apply to HHS, that it could possibly go down that road. And again, I'm not a doctor. I have to keep saying this over and over again because I want to be able to be here tomorrow. And if I don't say it, I will get a strike. Because if anyone is able to misinterpret that I'm giving medical advice here, which I'm definitely not, you two will strike me. And I'll be gone for a week. And frankly, I can't afford it. So, 2020, I got that. Okay. I knew that would cheer you up. Oh, this should make you mad. This I'm going to share with you here should make you mad. Where is it? Here it was. Zero Hedge shared this with me. Share with me by Zero Hedge, aka by Tyler Durden. This is a real life example of how Democrats claim to save you money. This is what they claim is, oh, we're saving you money. We're here to help you. We're going to be a big help to you. We're a big, big help to you. Oh, you need us. Wait, hold on a second. No, that's Palmyra. Give me more shekel. Okay. Oh, and I should tell you all, those of you who are on Rumble especially, you need to check out Bill Dozer 74. His channel is fire. You'll be saying, oh, Lord, it's a fire. That's what you'll be saying. But you need to go to Bill Dozer 74 because he's just awesome. So make sure you check out his work because it is fire. It's fire. Oh, you won't even grab your shoes or nothing. You're just going to be like, oh, Lord, it's a fire. That's what you're going to be saying. All right. Real life example of how Democrats claim to save you money by Tyler Durden. This example is about as Orwellian as one can find. It involves a proposed $15 vehicle tax for entering New York City. Please listen to New York City Governor Kathy Hochul explain how she's saving taxpayers 40% in her Orwellian video. Let's check out that video now.
Process from day one. I have made affordability for New York families a top priority. I always have, and I always will fight to put more money in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers. That's why back in June, I stood up on behalf of hardworking families and simply said no. No to a new $15 congestion toll that at that particular time was just too much. Too many people were worrying about high costs, groceries, rent, childcare. These are real challenges for our families.
So what's she going to do about that? What's she going to do about that?
And launching a toll that high really would have hurt a working mom or working dad trying to make ends meet.
So they were talking about launching a toll. Now, if you're not familiar with the city of New York, let me give you a little background on it, okay? The city of New York, when people refer to the city of New York, the greater city of New York includes 5 boroughs. But when people are talking about the city, they're referring to Manhattan. In fact, it's referred to as New York County. Manhattan itself is referred to as New York County. New York County, as you've seen on a map, is very long and very thin. It's about 12 avenue blocks wide, 13 in some areas, and which is basically an avenue block is basically like 3 normal size blocks. So it's basically a total of like 30 blocks wide, and it's like 200 blocks long. Okay. Downtown Manhattan or Midtown Manhattan, let's say anywhere below 60th Street, is an area that gets congested. If you want to come into New York City, There are certain entrances, depending on where you're coming from, that are free. Whenever you're leaving New York City, it's free. There's no charge for leaving New York City. But it used to be they would charge you each way. If you're old enough like me to remember, and you learned to drive in the 80s, in that case, you remember when they used to charge you a toll each way. And they said, this is a little bit difficult. So instead, we're going to hit you with a double toll only when you're coming into the city, no toll when you're going out of the city. There are 3 tunnels that come into New York City. Those 3 tunnels are the Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, and the Midtown Tunnel. Okay? 3 tunnels. The Holland and Lincoln go out to New Jersey. Midtown Tunnel goes out to Queens. 3 tunnels. Those tunnels, you have to pay a toll when you're coming in. Then there are bridges that connect Manhattan to the rest of the world. You have the George Washington Bridge, which if you're coming into New York City over the George Washington Bridge, you have to pay a toll. The rest of the bridges in New York, you do not pay a toll. Oh, I missed the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. There's that too. That's a fourth one. You pay for that tunnel too. You have the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, Williamsburg Bridge, and the 59th Street Bridge. The first 3 all connect Brooklyn and Manhattan at the very southern tip. They're pretty close to each other geographically. Those are all free. You come across, in, out, boom, boom, free. 59th Street Bridge is free. That connects Queens and Manhattan. There are other, technically the Triborough Bridge is one you actually have to pay for if you're coming in that way. No one really uses that because whatever. I don't want to get into that. And there's certain bridges that connect Manhattan with the Bronx as well. Smaller bridges, it's a smaller crossing that there's no fee for except for the Triborough Bridge. That's why no one pays really for the Triborough Bridge. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're going to Queens, you might. I don't want to get into all that. The fee for these bridges, I believe, is $13. When I was growing up, it was like, I remember it being like $2. It's now $13. I think that's what it is. It might even be up to $15. They keep jacking it. Every few years, they jack it up a little bit more. Where you go, and basically you get hit with the Easy Pass, and it gets racked up on you. Did I get that right on the $13? That's my recollection. If I'm mistaken on that, one of you New Yorkers can correct me on that. But as I recall, it's $13. What Kathy Hochul and her elitist a-hole friends have decided to do is, in addition to those tolls, they are launching a brand new toll, a brand new fee, in addition to those other tolls, called a congestion toll or a congestion fee, meaning that if you cross into the area of Manhattan that you during business hours that anyone would actually be coming in there, not coming in there at night, but if you're coming in there during business hours, that you're going to have to pay an additional $15. Now, a lot of people, when they're going from Jersey, let's say to Queens, they'll literally just drive right across. If you're driving from Jersey to Queens, you're basically driving down 37th Street, and you just zip on down, right? If you're, and you can basically go straight from the Holland Tunnel into the Midtown Tunnel and just cut across. Now, they want to hit you with a congestion fee that you're adding to the congestion and all this other crap. So she's talking about this added-on fee, not the tolls. At first, I was like, wait, aren't the tolls already like $15? What are they talking about? She's lowering them to $9. I was like very confused by this. No. Add-on toll, new tolls. So she's sitting here proud of herself that she's fighting for New Yorkers.
Especially someone driving in from a transportation desert or far from outside the center of the city. As governor, it is my job to make decisions that take into account the needs of all working New Yorkers. So I made the decision to put the congestion pricing program on pause while we devise a different path forward. State law requires that congestion pricing simultaneously raise money for the MTA and drive down traffic congestion.
Basically, they want to make sure you don't drive in there. But instead, the MTA is our subway system in New York, so more people will take the MTA because they don't want to get hit with that $15 with that congestion fee.
These are important priorities. But I believe that no New Yorker should have to pay a penny more than absolutely necessary to achieve these goals.
Absolutely necessary. This is a necessary thing. Necessary. Must be done.
And $15 was too much. And I'm proud to announce we have found a path to fund the MTA, reduce congestion, and keep millions of dollars in the pockets of our commuters. Under this plan, the MTA will implement a congestion pricing plan with a reduced daytime toll of $9 beginning in January.
So when you come in now, you're going to get hit with a $9 fee. It never existed before, but we're going to hit you now when you come in there with a $9 fee that you never got hit with before. This is what she's announcing. You never got hit with this fee ever before in your life. Now you're going to start hitting with this every day, $9 a day.
You heard that correctly. It was $15 before, and now it is $9.
It was never $15. They were talking about making it $15. Instead, they're like, okay, we're not going to charge $15. We're only going to charge $9. This is what the Democrats said. Oh, we're not going to charge you $15. We're just going to charge you this brand new tax of $9.
That is a 40% reduction. This lower toll will save daily commuters nearly $1,500 annually.
I'm just saved you $1,500 because instead of me charging you $15 a day that you never had to pay before, I'm only charging you $9 a day. I just gave you $1,500. What they should have done is they should have initially said that the congestion fee is going to be $80 a day and then brought it back to $9 a day. And that way, instead of saving me $1,500, they could have been saving us many tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know why they didn't do that. They could have saved us everyone would have been rich. We would have been rich. All you had to do is just cut. If they initially said it $80 and then cut it back down to $9, and I don't know why you stopped there. The next time that there's like some sort of that there's a real economic struggle that New Yorkers are facing, now that you have this $9 fee in there, announce that you're going to be jacking up the $9 per month, $9 per entry. Announce that you're going to be making it $200, and then only raise it to $15, and that way everyone will have $175 saving every freaking day. And that way, everyone will get rich. Everyone will now be making $175. Oh my God! Oh my God! This vile, disgusting, awful human being who has the audacity to say, "Here's a brand new tax that saves you money, that saves you $1,500 a year." The audacity of this machshefa.
And that kind of money makes a big difference for our families.
Yeah, really? What about the fact that if it's $6 savings is saving $1,500? That means, according to your calculation, the $9 you are charging me is actually costing me $1,800 a year. You're basically calculating $2. It's 200 trips per year. That's how you come to it's saving $1,500. That'd be saving $6 a day times 200 is basically how you come out to $1,500. So now you want to come along and say, oh, okay. All right. It was 250. I'm sorry. It's $250. 250. Right? Unbelievable. Was it 300? It's actually 300. 3 times 6. 1,500. 6 wasn't 15. It's 2.5. You're basically saving, it's 250 trips. So you're saying, so the balls on this woman, the balls on this evil machshefa. Unbelievable.
And there'll be further discounts.
Further discounts, even more. I can't wait till they give me more discounts and introduce brand new taxes. I'll get more discounts. More discounts. Oh, please bring us more discounts. It's like, how stupid do you think humans are? This is just like, it's a real test to see just how stupid you are as a person. Unbelievable. Okay, one small study from 97. Why haven't we done a bigger study to prove it was an outlier data? I thought anti-vaxxers were kooky, but you can't question its debunked now. I think there's something. Yeah, and like I said, I agree. I think there's something. The last one made you look illiterate. I know you're not illiterate. I type all the time also. V stands for victory, not a YouTube noise term. That's true. That is true. Thank you, Matt. Okay, I give up. That was worse. Yeah, this one. You'll get there. You'll get there. Don't worry. Joe, help me understand huge uproar over Trump and the Israeli and cabinet picks being a free pass to obliterate the Gaza Strip. I'm confused. I thought the Palestinian government is run by Hamas terrorists. It is. It is. But unless you basically... I hate talking about this topic. I hate talking about this topic. I get very... I hate talking about this topic. I know you don't know that because I so rarely talk about this topic. I know that when I talk about this topic, I get too emotional and I get too angry. Like I feel it. I'm just like, they basically say that if Israel actually defends itself from terrorism, that's somehow evil. Which you can throw at them the same argument that Trump made with respect to that he made to Liz Cheney. Oh, let's put a gun in her hand, see what you would do, see how she would feel about war. So anyone who thinks that they're being too aggressive, okay, you try patrolling the border there, and tell me what you think they should do. Try doing it. Until you do it, you know what you're talking about. We have congestion tolls that are traffic dependent. So one day it can be $4. The next, if it's very trafficy, then $54. And I'm not kidding about 50. Really? Where's that? Where is that, Adrian? Oh, God. It's not any different from the mob. It's not. There's no difference. You just saved me $495 by reading this $5 super chat. That's $495 below the daily maximum. That's right. You're only allowed to spend $500 here. So over here, but I'm going to up it to $1,000. That way I'll save you even more money. All the bakeries in Manhattan get their bread from Long Island City, which is in Queens. It's right over the bridge. The dry cleaners ship their product out to Long Island City. A toll on 59th Street Bridge in New York is done. Yeah, well, instead of the toll, what they did was they said anything south of 60th Street, which 59th is 1 block south of there, which means that I assume you come over 59th Street Bridge, you're going to get hit with this congestion fee. Now, it's unbelievable. They're literally doing everything they can to chase New Yorkers out, chase businesses out, just make it as impossible as they can to actually do business in New York. Literally, just like this, they're so strangling this city. Democrats are destroying New York. I-200 Montgomery County, Maryland. Wow, that's crazy. $50. $50 is insanity. All right, let me get to. I got a couple more funny clips I wanted to share with you all. I really could play that song again, and it wouldn't faze me, but so apparently Nancy Pelosi filed to run for re-election, and C3PME was sharing that this is her new. I can imagine so. That's crazy. All right. I'm winding down. So start finishing off your popcorn, wiping your hands down, because I'm winding down. We're getting to the whole wind down phase now. We're in the wind down phase. I know you don't like when, people don't like being shocked, like all of a sudden, like, oh my God, what happened? Sometimes I'm warning you. We're winding down. It's the wind down phase. So I got a couple clips I'm going to share with you all, and then I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that you all need to know in case some of you don't know. And yeah, so tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow morning, I'm supposed to be back on with the whole trial of Jose Ibarra in the Lake and Riley case. I did it today, this morning. I'm not going to kid you. I wasn't really enjoying it. And Lady Lawgic was asking me about it, like why I wasn't enjoying it. And I was like, this is something that, like, I feel like we know the outcome. He's going to be convicted. He's going to be sent to prison for a long time. We know the outcome. The testimony that's coming in here is really primarily just police people talking about the evidence, the steps they did to collect and maintain the evidence in proper order. So the only thing that I really was able to weigh in on is mistakes that they made, and basically saying, well, they really should have done that a little better, which basically is me standing up for Jose Ibarra and saying, defense should raise this point that, the phone issue is, there's an issue with the way they collected the phones, and it's based, and as there's no testimony about stuff like, people seeing something or hearing something or conversation. There's nothing in the way, like, with the Rittenhouse thing, it's like, oh, what did this person do then? There's eyewitnesses talking about what they saw. Here, there's no eyewitnesses. That's the whole issue, is that it was like at first a mystery that they had the good fortune from God to basically get to find evidence. A video thing of him. The only video is him lurking around, but you don't see him and her in the same frame at any time. It's just, oh, here's a time stamp of him during these minutes standing at this corner, which they can show us on a map is a block and a half away from where Lake and Riley lived, or from it's 200 yards from this trail, or whatever it is, which all is necessary and important for the purposes of getting a conviction. But it's not like this is, I don't know. It's not like this is like a riveting trial to watch. So I might pick it up tomorrow, but all right, Stacey, here's the deal. The only reason that Arabs die or Jews die, the only reason anyone dies is because Western media and idiots are screaming that Israel is evil. In my heart of hearts, I genuinely believe that if no one would care about, no one would be screaming about it, no one would be dying, not Jews, not Arabs. From the perspective of Hamas, it's worth sacrificing themselves and their own people to get the PR of people yelling that Israel is evil. The PR is what they're trying to obtain. So when they see these marches, all those marches do is encourage more attacks on Israelis, which they know will invariably lead to attacks back, where there's going to be a lot more loss of Arab life. So starting from October 7th all the way through today, all they've been looking for is to get useful idiots in college campuses to be chanting genocide, or BB is Adolf, or all this other stuff that they basically are desperately trying to gin up more and more anti-Israel rhetoric. And they don't care, and these terrorists don't care if they have to do it by killing Jews or by having their own children and themselves, not usually themselves because the leaders are usually off hiding in a bunker, but their own citizens take a massive, like a literal beating, in the sense of, in thousands of deaths. Because ultimately, the entire agenda is to manipulate the West into being mad at Israel. So it gets very frustrating. It gets very, very frustrating. Because it's like how easily can you be triggered by a terrorist organization into and not recognize that you're literally doing their bidding. Not you. I'm not talking about you, Stacey. You're not the one who's doing it. I'm talking about these people who come out there and start screaming about, Israel and all this. They're the ones who have been weaponized. So that's why I get very, very aggravated by it. Day one was the best with roommates testifying. They did a lot of the initial work for the LA. Yeah, where they basically found the AirPods and all that other stuff. But do you see what I'm saying, though, with respect to, I'm just like, I don't like the fact that the only thing I have to say about this trial is things that actually helps the defense. And otherwise, I'm left sitting there the whole time being like, oh, okay, well, that's helpful. That's useful. You're welcome. Anytime. Palmera says, wind down. Been looking at all of us on Rumble like we should be happy with the 2 inches you give us. Then you tell us to get ready for the wind down. That's like asking for the hooker for a change back. You're getting so angry at me. Palmera, chill. Easy. So Nancy announced that she is running for re-election again in 2026. Here's her announcement that came out now, in case you wanted to see it.
Hello, it's Nancy. Thank you for giving me the privilege to represent our city and our San Francisco values in the Congress and amplifying the voice of the big dark money in politics. That is my why I am in Congress, for the big dark money. This is my story and this is my song. As you hear me say, when you're in the arena, you have to be able to punch the children. And that is why I am running for re-election to Congress and respectfully seek your support. I would be greatly honored by it and grateful for it. Thank you so much. Hello.
That was from C3P meme sharing with us Nancy's announcement that she's running for re-election. That guy's a freaking genius. He's awesome. This one's a short one, but this is a pretty good joke. It was a pretty good joke I think from the Al Smith dinner that I only first stumbled on yesterday. So you're getting it today. That's too low. You're not going to get that.
The media.
No.
The media has begun discussing the phenomena of secret Trump voters. I don't know if you've heard about this. People who publicly say they would never vote for Trump, but then when they go in the voting booth, they do. It's a small group. They're called the Biden family.
He said that. I don't know who said that joke. That joke was said at the Al Smith dinner, and that's before anyone saw. That's before anyone saw him. That huge smile that he had. That huge smile that he had, which was just insane. Insane. That smile that he had. I got 2 more videos. I got 2 more videos for you all. So we really are getting close. I had to subscribe to you for the 5th time. I keep on being deleted from your platform. Don't know why. Don't want to make up a conspiracy theory. You're not alone. You're not alone. Please make sure that you're still subbed up here, because people get unsubbed all the time. That's just the reality of the world. Caleb Crow says, a while ago I said I $10 chat. Any reason you're wrong about felony conviction occurring at sentencing that survives Socratic examination, I'll do it anyway if no takers. This is the latter. A while ago I said I'd send $10 chat. Any reason you're wrong about felony conviction occurring at sentencing that survives Socratic examination, and I do it anyway if no takers. I think somewhere is what happens is this, Caleb. I've been there. You start writing something, you're like, no, I want to change the word a little bit. And then you go back in, but you have a small little box. You don't even see what you had written above and below. And all of a sudden, by the time you hit enter and send, it doesn't read the way you thought it did. And that's what I assume is what happened here. I think you edited. And then by the time you were done, I'm like, I'm not sure what you're saying. And I'm sure when you sent it, you were like had corrected it. I'm not saying this mocking you. I'm saying I know your pain. So you don't need to send another chat. If you want, I'm going to look in the chat now. I'll watch the chat for like a minute. If you want to try and correct something. But I don't know what I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure what that is. Alifon says, are they going to roll Pelosi out on her campaign asking for a friend? They should. They should. I'm not the only one. I know. I'm sure everyone's happened to people like lots of time. Like lots of times. Sorry. I'm sorry. You're having a great hair day. What am I trying to say? You're having a phenomenal hair day. Don't let it creep you out. You are. This is the time to give me grief. All right. I'm trying to give Caleb another like minute, so that's why I'm not. All right, we can. Nice. She does seem. Speaking of Biden being weekend at Bernie's, speaking of that, you set me up. You set me up with that last one. With that last one, Elliot Biden equals weekend at Bernie's. Literally, that's where I was going next. That was the next one. It's almost like you're reading my mind. It's kind of creepy. Okay. All right. I feel you. Here we go.
Good afternoon, Amazonians, and to Wonder Woman, who I was just informed could not make it on account of her not actually being a real person.
Oh my God, the internet is such a remarkable place.
It's your boy Dank Brandon here.
Thank God Dank Brandon is back. I've been waiting for Dank Brandon. It's been way too long since I've seen Dank Brandon. I was taken from the top.
Good afternoon, Amazonians, and to Wonder Woman, who I was just informed could not make it on account of her not actually being a real person. It's your boy Dank Brandon here. Man, it's hot as balls down here. I'm sweating more than Kamamo's vendors wondering if they're going to get paid. I shouldn't have said that. But seriously, I could really go for a pair of those assless chaps Mike Tyson was wearing. It's like there's a second Amazon River happening in the back of my pants. All joking aside, they say the Amazon is the long.
I'm sorry, I forgot just how descriptive this particular thing was. I'm hoping that Lady Lawgic fell asleep already.
Lungs of the world, which means pee is stored in Antarctica. It's science.
What?
Amazon is the lungs of the. There's a second Amazon River happening in the back of my pants. All joking aside, they say the Amazon is the lungs of the world, which means pee is stored in Antarctica. It's science. We need to keep the forest here thick like Tulsi Gabbard in a pair of dress slacks. Man, I still can't believe we traded her for female Dick Cheney. Anyways, I'm leaving now. I'm about to go search the jungles for my Uncle Ambrose's body. I just hope the cannibals left something for me to identify. Thank Brandon, out.
There he goes. All right. All right. Did you know that Jew Siegfried Marcus invented the automobile? Also, three-time Indy 500 winner Maury Rose and Corvette's chief engineer Zara Duntov. I'll tell you this: I don't care. I never cared about anything like this. I think it's the. You need to never, ever, ever, ever worry yourself about who's a Jew and who isn't. Seriously, never, never, never. It doesn't say DNA. Okay, all right. So what? So what? It's not making your life any richer. Trust me. It's not making my life any richer. And I mean that in the figurative sense as well as the literal sense. Ain't helping you. It's not doing anything for you. So, just like every other race, Jews got accomplishments and they got embarrassments. We have both, sadly. But yeah. I got one last one, and I'm warning you now, this one's loud. This one's loud. It's going to pop your eardrums. It gets louder and louder. It gets louder and louder. I'm warning you now. Don't tell me I didn't warn you. So I'm just going to tell you before you can't hear me. After this, I'm just going to drop you a Godspeed. So yeah, the meat, it's for they them. that lab meat. It's not for you. It's not for you. And don't eat the bugs. And enjoy this really loud. I don't know what it is, but it's loud. But it's kind of amusing. So
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done all of this. I'm sorry. No, no,
it's really well done.
You really hate me that bad.
Oh my god! I never saw this guy. I need to find that guy. Told you it was loud. Hope you enjoyed it, as well as the show. Goodlogic.locals.com to see where you're going to find me next. Till then, good night. Godspeed.